The sun being the bringer of life, of warmth, energy, light, and the start of the food chain means that solar storms are one of the most important weather events to understand. Solar storms are bursts of electromagnetic energy that can impact Earth and everything on Earth in many different ways. One of the more noticeable effects is on electrical technology and machinery, especially since we rely so much on them. What happens with solar storms is that there's so much energy that it disrupts electrical and magnetic fields. This is why major accidents and tragedies tend to happen in clusters, is usually because they're happening during solar storms. Plane crashes, car crashes, factory accidents, they tend to happen in higher frequency during solar storms because the technology is less reliable because they are being disrupted by the solar storm. It can cause more computer glitches, Wi-Fi problems, and navigation devices to malfunction. Our hearts are also generating these electromagnetic fields, and with the solar storm, that can be disrupted as well. So people with heart problems, especially very elderly people, tend to pass away during solar storms because it can push their heart over the edge. The other big reason why there's so many accidents is because people's reaction times are slightly lowered during solar storms. It can exacerbate inflammation and irritability and further dysregulates a system that's already dysregulated. At the same time, the solar storms causing all of this dissonance and disruption, it's increasing the total energy in every system. Despite the potential negative effects and workplace injuries and accidents, this level of dissonance is good for keeping things from being stagnant. It interrupts the conditioned pathways and established routines and allows for more freedom of exploration, whether mentally, internally, or just finding new ways of doing things. So while the solar storm can cause everything to go haywire for a while, it allows for a rerouting. You can tune to something different. Our civilization tends to have this over-reliance that everything is consistent and objective and remains so at all times. And this is a big issue with science right now, is that it presupposes that everything has to fall into a specific routine. The solar storm is there to prove otherwise, that sometimes things get shaken up and simply work differently. New pathways are written not just neurologically, but in the ecosystem or in a machine system or any kind of system. It's an electrical tsunami, and it can leave things a lot different than before it arrived. The solar storms tend to increase in activity over an 11-year period, so the peak is about 5 or 6 years into the solar cycle before it starts to decline again. Solar storms can be tracked, but it's probably more reliable to learn how to feel them, because simply knowing a solar storm is going to happen doesn't tell you what kind of effects there are going to be. And that's something you can learn how to feel, because just like any other type of storm, it's not always going to impact the same way each time. And this is especially true when you're dealing with things like light and electromagnetism. Because the solar storm is depressing and disrupting all of the fields and all of this energy, it's also connecting everything a lot more. It's dispersing all of this energy at the same time as putting more energy into everything. There's broader historical trends that tend to line up with the solar cycle, such as outbreaks of disease, conflicts, violence, not because the sun is causing that, but because it's exacerbating what may already be there. It's causing that dissonance, which could lead to dysregulation of systems. It's shaking things up, and sometimes when you do that, there is an increased chance for violent reactions. When electrical fields are disrupted that way, and there's all this extra energy, it allows for this bridging of connections, whether it's between people or between areas of your mind, or just between various systems. Even though there's less proper communication, there's more sort of energetic communication. A good comparison is like being very slightly tipsy from alcohol, but only everything, not just people, but even technology and entire systems are all kind of slightly buzzed. Everything becomes looser and freer at the same time that sometimes there's too much chaos or sometimes there's too much dissonance. It really just depends on the type of storm and people's reactions to the storms and how their own fields or the fields of their machines and the reliability of those circuitry, how that's all being impacted, and it's all going to change with any given solar storm. The sun is different all the time. It changes every single day, and you can begin to learn how to see it, how to feel it, how to experience those changes and witness them as well. Solar storms are usually pretty vaguely described or just outright dismissed, so I hope you found this a little bit more informative or interesting, but thanks for watching.